such a sacred and feminine part of our spirituality is that connection. It feels so important, especially being raised in a tradition where it's like we wanted to connect, but oftentimes what we connected over was thoughts, like dogma, like beliefs, and sometimes experiences too, as long as the experience is all, aligned and fell in the framework right. But it's like connecting over presence feels very different, and it also feels very Christ-like.
Welcome to In Her Image, a podcast where we seek and celebrate our Mother God through scripture, scholarship, the arts, and everyday life. I'm Jess Burdette, and today I'm really excited to have a conversation with somebody who is involved in an upcoming event that I think will be really beautiful. And whether you can attend the event or not, this conversation will inspire you as to how you can connect with other people who are on a spiritual journey and give you ideas for how to continue to progress in your own personal walk with Mother God. So Sydney Gibbons her name is Latter Day Awakening on Instagram. She supports connection and transformation in the spiritual space with a background in the LDS tradition, same as me. In her own divine feminine awakening, she was prompted to cultivate gifts of healing and intuition. She is a healing and guidance facilitator with a big focus on helping people connect with their aligned embodiment and soul purpose. She helps creators and others express their divine selves and connect with like-hearted souls. And she's involved in creating events for this to happen, as well as supporting other collaborations like courses and other expressive works. So Sydney, welcome to In Her Image. We're really excited to have you on.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jess. It is an absolute honor and joy to be on here with you.
Thanks. And first and foremost, we want to hear about this event that you've been planning. I was kind of involved in the very early stages of hearing about kind of what was coming to be. I know Emily, Carolyn Baker, and Jolyn Laney, and you, and several others have been spiritually creating this event for some months now, and it's been really fun kind of hearing the process. So what have you come up with? When is it? How do people go? And then let's talk more about what you're hoping to see from the whole experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. Okay, so yes, Jess has been involved in some conversations with ladies, and we want more ladies. So this is like a very grassroots approach to cultivating gathering and connection, and it's not like a one-off goal here. We want to cultivate continued connection, and there's no one main group or one main person behind all of this. It's just a number of people, and the group keeps getting larger of people who just care about getting together and supporting women on their journeys and open to supporting, even in bigger like co-ed spaces. But the goal of this event is specifically about divine womanhood, that every woman's journey is divine, every woman's like desires and the impressions she gets in her heart is divine. And we're just here to honor that and to understand that, because so often we can become so confused about the differences that we have. We let them take precedence in our minds, and we don't realize how much we actually have in common. And so this is not just for Latter-day Saint. It's for any woman who wants to connect and be seen. And we're definitely all about like embodiment practices. This is not like a sit down and you're going to listen to a bunch of speakers. It's going to be like, let's break out, let's have discussions, let's learn about something, and then let's experience it. So that's part of this, the goal in this too.
Beautiful. So where will this event be happening and what date?
Yeah, so the event is in October, which is such a beautiful month, such a lovely time to gather. It's going to be October 17th at Thanksgiving Point in Utah. We got a beautiful room. It's called the Garden Room. It has large windows overlooking the mountains, and hopefully there'll be some trees changing colors. So it's going to be a most of the day event, and people can pop in if they want to do it that way, but we recommend come the whole time if you can. But we know it's complicated. It's going to be on a Friday. So October 17th, Thanksgiving point, and we have set up a very simple Google Doc where you can get information about it and you can sign up to attend. And currently it's just donation based. And if you feel like you can't donate anything or you don't want to for some reason, then that's an option. So really, this is just
Mhm.
like if you care about gathering, there's going to be this opportunity to, and we really want to support people in if they want to get involved in creating or being part of gatherings in the future, then come and just get to know each other and start to experience something together.
Wonderful. So we'll be sure to put that Google Doc in the show notes so that if anybody here is listening and interested in attending, you can easily find that and get all the details for times and everything and sign up to go.
Well, I want to say it's so interesting, Jess, because I did an event earlier this year that was an online event where people signed up. They did a kind of a tiered donation. So it wasn't like a straight regular ticket. It was kind of a unique payment model, but it was still paid. And it's been interesting this time around feeling like for some reason, like I am all about people getting paid we put a lot of money into this, like those of us who did like actually secure the location. So I'm all about people getting paid for the work they do, especially even in the spiritual space, because I know there's a lot of stigma around that. And I don't believe that that always needs to be in place. But it's been interesting to feel like sometimes when you're doing something grassroots, it needs to feel more equal footing. And I think it's a bit of a divine feminine approach here to just be like, you know what? Let's just open this to everyone. And you don't have to pay. Let's just get together and feel into what it's like to connect. And so that's been
Mm,
something interesting for this event compared to other events that I've been involved in.
that is really interesting. And I've been super interested too in hearing more recently in the later planning stages, kind of how the event will be happening. You kind of alluded to it already here, but that it's not going to be so much speakers speaking, like I'm here in authority, I'm on the stage, let me tell you, like impart my knowledge, but more of we all have divinity within us. Let's bring all of that out. So I'd love to hear more about how that's going to look and what people can expect if they do come.
Yeah, so it's definitely like a really neat mix. So there will mostly be this opportunity to kind of do group activities or group experiences where either, for example, everyone's done something like this before where you maybe like list something up on like a projector or you say it on a microphone, and if you've experienced it, you like raise your hand, something like that, just kind of this icebreaker. So we're not going to do exactly that activity, but that kind of idea where it's like, let's just see how we actually all relate. And let's get everyone a chance to express themselves and their experience somehow. So, like, that's an example. But also, like, have you ever been at an event where, like, maybe you did like a song together or like a chant or a dance together, anything like that?
Trying to think. At the event, the Divine Feminine event we did here in DFW, we tried to do some small connection moments like that where we had, like, for example, in the intro, we had everybody place a hand over their heart and say, I am here. And
Hmm.
we gave everybody a few moments of silence to set their intentions for the event. So
Hmm.
small things, but
Yes.
they had a big impact, and people gave feedback about that moment was really impactful for me.
Yeah, yeah. I feel like tapping into that presence together is so different than sitting back and saying, I'm just here to absorb. Because then you're not really showing up. You're not really adding to the connection. Like it's like a one-way connection instead of like this interlocking connection that happens when people can be more involved somehow.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like being invested in a different way, right? Rather than paying
Hmm.
money and showing up and just having a butt in the chair, it's I'm buying in this like more I don't know the word for it, this more real way almost.
Yeah. Yeah. So we're very aware of like the value of that in because I've experienced that myself, the difference of feeling like you're showing up to things, but you're not really getting to show up. Like you're not really being heard. You're not really getting to share your experience or do anything that makes you really feel connected with the people around you. And I think people experience that at church a lot, although there's a lot of ways to feel connected at church too. So I think, yeah, we're really aware of that more divine feminine. Let's create something that feels like it's weaving people together, instead of just projecting onto people things.
That sounds like it could be really magical.
That's the
So
hope.
what are you hoping that people will take away from this event? And of course, it's so personal to what each person brings and what their willingness is to participate and what their intention is to take away. But if you had a hope for what somebody would come away with, what would it be?
I think that there's definitely a hope of people not feeling alone, feeling like there's a place for them to show up however they are, wherever they are in their journey, and that there's a place to continue to invest like your gifts in. If there's anyone who's been waiting for a place to like plug into and be involved with something, that's definitely an invitation because we plan to do an event next year as well and just see where everything goes. So, um, I think that not feeling alone, feeling like you can plug into something and connect, and also that honoring of each of our divine womanhood, and to feel like you're able to hold that and continue to explore what does that mean. A lot of people are still exploring what is my selfhood and what is my womanhood, and healing a lot of things around femininity or the femaleness.
Mhm.
So that's definitely an invitation too of this event is there'll be in the breakout rooms some different topics. I wonder about if I could ask you some questions about your event in Dallas, Fort Worth.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about you chose to do an in-person gathering. Even though you weren't at a super big LDS hub, I mean, you were in a city in Dallas area. So
Mhm.
I would love to hear more about like what made it click for you that it was like, this is something that needs to happen? And what was the goal for you guys in that? So this was back in like 2022, was it?
Let's see. I was pregnant at the time, so it's 2023.
2023. Okay. Okay. And you guys decided to do a gathering in DFW. So how did
Yes.
that, yeah,
So
come to be?
we were actually inspired by an event that happened in Utah that happened at the Provo Library about Heavenly Mother. And it was put on by Danielle
Calder.
Calder. Yes, thank you. And my friend Natalie and I watched it via Zoom or YouTube, whatever they used, each from our own houses. And she texted me that night and was like, we need to do one of these here in DFW. And I just kind of caught the bug and was like, yes, we do. We should. Let's do it. And then we had a friend, Kira, who's just very talented and has done event planning and is really smart. And so we looped her in and like, do you want to help us plan an event here around the divine feminine? And she was like, yeah. So I think it was mostly born of something that we wanted for ourselves, that we were like, we've been on this journey. We've had small gatherings, even together. We've had small group discussions and meditative experiences, ceremony type meetings. I don't know what to call them. But they'd always been pretty small. And we wanted to do something big where anybody in the area who's been craving this could come and kind of like you're talking about, feel recognized and feel safe and feel home, with
Mm.
people like them, with people who accept them and get where they're coming from and want the same things. And we actually didn't intend for it to be LDS centric at all. We invited 6 or 7, maybe more, different teachers, speakers, and we intentionally invited people from different cultures and religions that are specifically in our area. So it was really neat because we have the Womanist Church of Dallas, which is a congregation that centers Black women. And we invited um, their pastor to come and speak. And we had professors come from different schools around here to share about, for example, the Jewish mystic view of Shekinah. And we found a lady who is a Hindi storyteller, and she came and shared stories of the divine feminine in Hinduism. And so we just had this mix, and it was really neat to kind of realize that we all have a lot to learn from each other, and that kind of as we weave this tapestry together, we get a much more vibrant picture of who the divine feminine is. And we were really hoping to bring out the sense that divinity is within us. And so specifically if you're attending as in a woman's body, that you have divinity as a woman. And we felt like
Mhm.
there was an imbalance in that, and that a lot of women don't always feel divine or see their divine potential. So, whether or not women connected to the concept of a heavenly mother or a mother god, goddess, however you might see her or not, we were hoping that people could at least see that they are divine as
Mhm.
whatever gender they are, whatever, background they come from. Anyways, that was a very long answer,
Yeah. No, it's
but
beautiful. It's beautiful, and it's beautiful how you gathered together so many people, and I'm sure that it just kind of, like, organically worked out, and these were so many people that you didn't know before this event, so that's
oh
very
yeah.
amazing to me. Yeah, that's really beautiful, and I think that that's such a valuable message to the idea that regardless of whether or not someone believes in, like, a corporeal divine goddess that's in some realm watching over us, or whether the divine feminine means something different to you, like the message of the divine feminine is that our femininity and women are divine. Like we
Mhm.
are we are an expression of the divine. And so to help people, yeah, to recognize that and feel that is so beautiful. And it sounds like people got to the event that, yeah, that you hosted.
Yes, and we were inclusive too of LGBTQ folks, and we were mindful of, not just women, but anybody who
Hmm.
maybe has struggled to see divinity within themselves is welcome and embraced, and a powerful creator, and divine. So, yeah,
Hmm.
and it was so powerful. It was one of the best days of my life, probably. Um, and being a part of kind of witnessing how it all came together, and that co-creation of
Hmm.
women creating together was so beautiful, so unique. I'm still kind of like awestruck that I got to be a part of it all. And I wanted to ask too how that process has been for you in creating this event, I Am She. How has it been working with other women to create an event focused on the divine feminine?
Yeah, well, the most beautiful part about it is that people have very intimate and important personal experiences with this topic. Like, if anyone's going to come into the spiritual space and be invested in divine feminine focused event, it's because they've had their struggles and their awakenings and their questions and powerful insights and answers. So that's been one of the most beautiful things in general of gathering people together. And you're right, it's not just women too, is that it's very much all of us have the masculine motion and the feminine within us. And so that's been really neat too, is there are men that care about this and that have been involved in this. And that has been one of the most, like, it's such a treasure when you find a man who, like, deeply values the feminine expression in himself when it feels aligned, as well as the idea of the honoring of the divine feminine in other people in their life and as true divinity alongside the idea of a masculine divinity. So
Mhm.
that has been part of this process, has been just like rubbing shoulders with people who have powerful experiences and beliefs along those lines. But I mean, I'm interested to also hear about what you said, that the co-creation process was so powerful and such a neat experience. I have noticed with a lot of women, there has been a lot of visioning. And people are very busy. And so we've worked hard to connect with people who feel like they can invest and we can all invest together in our time and our energy and like actually getting things physically done and ready and set. And that is a bit more of that kind of masculine, like, let's ground it, let's make sure that everything makes sense and we have the details laid out. And yeah, I'm interested, since you completed an event, we're still working on getting all of this. It's not done yet, right? We have a few more weeks and we're excited for who else is going to come on board and attend and for it to actually happen. So I'm so interested in your experience of like actually finishing and completing an event. What was it like to be in that co-creative process, and how was it different than other processes you've been in before, maybe in church or whatever else?
Well, we definitely had different strengths and capacities as the event creators, Natalie and Kira and I. We had different experience coming into this. And so, yeah, we kind of each ended up taking on different roles of like, I felt comfortable getting up at the front and opening the event and, being a public voice. And I love poetry, and so I kind of headed up the poetry room that we had during the lunch hour, and I took signups for anybody who would like to display poetry or read poetry live. Um, and then Kira, like I mentioned, was really good with the details. She had planned several events before, and so she knew how to look for venues, how to talk to people, how to do the logistical side of everything, make sure the paperwork was signed and we had enough audio equipment and um, all the different things that I wouldn't have even thought of, probably. And then Natalie she's an artist. And so she was like, we need to bring in art. And I'd like to have booths at the back of the room where each artist can display their art and sell it if they want. Maybe we could have like an artist doing henna. So it's kind of interactive. And of course, she was involved in so much else as well. But it was really beautiful to see how each of us came with our own ideas and perspectives. And those planning sessions that we had together were really powerful. The envisioning of how we wanted the event to be, I feel like that was like the most important part. But then, of course, you do need to be able to get boots on the ground and actually make it all
Hmm.
happen. So when people have those skills and that time and willingness, that obviously helps a lot and will make it even possible to put on an event like this.
Hmm.
So yeah, it takes all kinds, and I was very grateful that they had skills that I didn't because we could fill in for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so powerful. I see that too. And it reminds me of at the beginning of this call before we started recording, and you mentioned like going in the flow, like of the conversation. And I think that that is like a new way of existing in the world. And it's not like we all have to exist in like always in feminine energy, but the idea of like being, I feel like this speaks into the idea of being in flow, where it's almost like I've done a lot of like Eastern studies. So you may be familiar with the term like the Tao, which is kind of just like the way that the progression of the universe is moving, the way that the energies are interplaying, that's like beneficial for all. And I think it's actually quite similar to the idea of God's will from the Latter-day Saint or like Christian traditions, although that sounds a lot heavier to me than this idea of just like being in the way or the Tao. But I just feel like that's like like you can push and you can volunteer for things even when it doesn't feel quite right. And you can say, I'll do this, even though that's not something you have a skill in. And like, there's a lot, not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I just feel like I'm finding that there's another way to exist in collaboration and cooperation with people that is a lot more being in the flow and trusting that things like people will bring what needs to be brought. And if we feel called to this, then it will be what it needs to be. And it's very, very collaborative. It's a lot less control. And it's more like that's why I think that that visioning is so important. Because once you have multiple people coming together on a shared vision, then they're going to get promptings, unique promptings, in my opinion, from the divine to work this out. If this is something that's going to be helpful and bless people's lives, they'll get promptings. And then if we can learn to act on those, then we can be in the flow together in
For
co-creation.
sure. For sure. I have so much coming to my mind right now of just remembering the next right person just coming into our lives at the perfect time. And I remember Kira saying it's just about finding the next right person. And we'd
Mm.
constantly be put in touch with, oh, have you heard about this church? Have you heard about this awesome minister? She's the first one of, this church to be ordained. She's a woman. And then we would have people hear about the event and come to us and say, do you have space for a dance portion? Like, I'm a dance major right now, and I'm like, divine feminine is my focus. And so she drove here from another state and brought some musicians with her to also play in the opening portion. And she put on an entire dance portion at the end of the day, which was really powerful. And then we had another person who just wanted to help and volunteer. And she suggested that we do a table at the entryway where it was like an indigenous, like, let's honor the people who were here first, and let's have flower crowns, and let's have a donation spot where people can, learn about the people who live in the area that they live in now and can take a seed back home. She's like, let's have seeds of like the evening primrose because that's from a native Texan flower and you can take it. Like, it just became this whole, like, people had all these ideas that we wouldn't have come up with on our own. But you're right. If it's truly inspired, then the divine will inspire a lot of people to come and help and bring their gifts. And it ends up being something so much more than one or even 12 people could have created on their own.
Mhm. That's so beautiful. I'm like, it's so amazing that you experienced that, and it's also so amazing, like, that you had people coming to you. Like, that's the dream where it's like, we're just all feeling this call, and now so and so is just popping up, and we're getting in connection. Like, that's so powerful.
Yeah. And it's about putting yourself out there, right? So that people can
Mm,
discover. Because if people never hear about it, then they're not going to know. So we had to be like
yeah.
advertising in all these places, and we're joining Facebook groups we hadn't been in before, and we're, going to Zoom church over in Dallas with these women we've never met before, but, making all these connections along the way and trying to share, like, our vision of what we want to create, and then having people like, "What is it this?" And like, "Well, it's this," and, you kind of end up creating it together and figuring it out as you go along and
Yeah.
putting it out
Yeah.
on Instagram and all the different places so people
How
can
did you
find
manage all
you.
that? Because that is a little bit more of the like, that's the action that has to take place to support the vision. And so did you just kind of like, "Okay, I have the energy for that now," or "I'm gonna volunteer for that task." Like, how did you get the word out? Like, you're saying you did all these things. Do you just kind of each do whatever you felt inclined to, or how did you do that?
Yes, it was kind of like I already had my Instagram account had a good amount of people, not like a crazy amount of followers, but I had a following, so I could post advertising the event and also I could put out a call. We're looking for talent, we're looking for donations, we're looking for, and just put that out there and see what came back. And then Kira had connections in other ways. She had done events so she can talk to, people who had looked for venues before. And um, she's also like a really great sleuth, so she can find these Facebook groups of people who might be interested in the topic, um, and join and just put out feelers. Hey, is anybody interested in this or helping with this? And then Natalie had her art community and her Instagram page. So it's like we just kind of had to look at like, okay, what do I already have? How can I tap into that? How can I share in a way that's organic? And then just talking with people too. And just putting it out there like we need XYZ. We're hoping to find somebody who can speak from this perspective. And then people know people or they give you ideas and hit a lot of
Mm.
dead ends too, but eventually you get there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's amazing. So it is a lot of work to, follow our dreams and impressions sometimes. Like it definitely was a lot of work for you guys to put that on.
Yeah, it was 9 months of solid planning and working. It was
That's
a
amazing.
labor of love.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Well, we've taken so much inspiration from that. I sadly didn't get to attend your event in person. And that is the hard thing about in person events. And that's why I helped create an online event earlier this year because, like, you don't want to always
Wow.
have things be, restrictive to physical attendance. But in my spiritual journey, I have found very deep value in both the things that I've been able to tune into on my own, zillion podcast episodes, right? My own, yoga videos I do or meditations, books that I read, me just voice recording thoughts into my phone, like my own stuff, right? But I've
Yeah.
also found that it's so important to get with other people. It just is. And I don't know, I mean, what has your experience been with that? Like, what is the value in gathering together and sometimes like together in person even, but either way, like with other people on your journey?
Yeah, there is a real power that comes from being together physically for a really specific purpose. Like, even just knowing that we're all gathered here caring about the same topic, especially when you haven't felt understood on the same topic in other spheres of your life, especially if you felt like, even my family doesn't really get this, or even my best friends, like I can't always talk to them about this. So to be surrounded by a room full of people who honor you and support you and are totally okay with where you are is healing. And there was one lady who I passed in the hallway. I don't remember if the event had just ended or if there was classes going on, but we both happened to just be in the hallway for some reason. But we passed each other and she just stopped me and just started crying and just said, "Thank you so much for putting this on. Like, just being here is healing me in ways that I didn't know I could heal. I could have healed."
Mm.
That just hit me so strongly, and we had a lot of people say, "We're going to do this again, right? Like, you're going to do this again." And it was so much work, so we're like, "We don't know if we're gonna do this again," but, people definitely gained a lot. I gained a lot. Like I said, it was, like, one of the best days of my whole life, just to just to be there, like, even if we hadn't had the amazing speakers and, like, the amazing feast that we did have of art, music, poetry, lessons about the divine feminine, just being in community with each other and witnessing each other was magical. And I think we need that now more than ever. There's so much that wants us to be separate and that wants us to think that we're on opposite sides and we can't come together and it's not worth trying. But it's a lie. It's a lie. And when we come together, especially in person, we can build bridges and we can heal wounds that we couldn't heal any other way.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that people are trying every day to live their life according to their impressions and like what's in their heart. Like we try, and on especially on a spiritual journey where things are evolving or we're not maybe what we used to be in some ways and we've grown in ways people don't understand or we see things different. Like there's all this change that happens. And even though we can experience the change within us, it's like when it's not acknowledged by those around us, it hurts. It like causes a constriction in our ability to express and embody our own revelation and our own call. And like that's what I think that presence does, like that woman was experiencing, where just being in presence with people who will hold space and just let you be without judgment, without needing for you to justify or explain or make it okay to them and just let you be, lets you actually root into that aligned embodiment and just rest in yourself and not have to be fighting or pushing or feeling misunderstood.
Yes, absolutely. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted to record this episode. And that I feel like it's important, even if people listen after this event is over or they can't come in person, is because I think it's important to remember the value of connection and finding our people and getting together, even if it is only on Marco Polo or wherever you can. But that can be such an anchor. And there are people, I hope if you haven't found your people yet that you'll pray to find them, and we'll pray for you too, that you can find your people and that you can come to something. You could come to this event or come to the next event or start your own event or or just start with the small
Yeah,
groups.
or
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, that's what I hope for people too. Like that is the goal, is that people just feel like there's space for them. They can express themselves, they can show up. So that's beautiful. I love that. We'll pray for that. I love the invitation for others to pray for that. I'm trying to think if I ever actually prayed for that. I definitely wanted that on my journey, and I eventually found it in a lot of places, like connection and places where I could be myself. If I didn't, I should have. It's like I don't believe in shoulds actually, but like that's a good idea, Jess, is what I'm saying. That's beautiful. Yeah, let us admit that that is an important part of our ability to express and connect, is like finding people that we can do that with.
Yeah. And it's a very feminine thing. I think the divine feminine would wants that for all of us. She wants us to know you're not alone. You're not crazy. All of this that
Hmm.
you're going through is good and it's worth witnessing, and you're strong and you're lovable, and she wants us to find people who can see that and continue to help us be the best that we can be.
Yeah, I love that. It makes me think of, like, for me, the idea of the divine feminine is very much about, like, one of the key words in esoteric literature is like magnetism. So like the masculine energy is like the push and the feminine energy is the pull. But I think that what that is really is, that is unity, is love. It is what brings together. It is weaving. It is relationship. And so it would make sense that it is such a sacred and feminine part of our spirituality, is that connection. It feels so important, especially being raised in a tradition where it's like we wanted to connect, but oftentimes what we connected over was thoughts, like
Mm.
dogma, like beliefs, and sometimes experiences too, as long as the experience is all, aligned and fell in the framework right. But it's like connecting over presence feels very different, and it also feels very Christ-like.
Mm. Yeah.
And I've been thinking about, like, Jesus Christ and the idea of him in the Garden of Gethsemane. I just had this thought, I think probably yesterday. And I was thinking about what he really was doing was he was willing to be present with humanness, with weakness and pain. Like that is what he was doing. He was being present with it, not saying that this needs to not exist or this needs to change. In this very moment, he was just like, I am seeing it and being with it. And I think that that's so important on our journeys, to be able to offer that to each other. That's so Christ-like.
Yeah. Mourning with those who mourn, right? Is
Hmm.
being able to actually see someone's pain and not try to hurry them through it or put something over the top of it so nobody else has to see, but to just like, yeah,
Hmm.
thank you for sharing that insight and for
Yeah.
everything. You're so eloquent, and I love hearing a little bit of your background through this conversation. You've always impressed me, even though I don't know you super well. Ever since you did the online event,
Mm.
I've just had a lot of respect for you and been excited about whatever you're doing. Whatever Sydney is doing, you want to be there. It's
My
going to be
goodness,
good.
Jess. You're the sweetest. You're amazing. I have been a follower of Jess for years, and it has been an absolutely amazing experience to watch all that you have created over the years, Jess, and to see what you have brought together. And all of the work you've done, I feel like, has been so collaborative. Like you've worked with other women and you've just held space for people on their divine feminine journeys in just an incredible way. So
Oh,
thank you.
thanks. That means a lot. Thank you for joining today. And are there any parting words or anything else that's coming to mind?
Mm. I mean, my parting word for anyone listening is to continue to follow the impressions in your heart and ask the questions that you feel called to ask. That has been my journey is we don't control the answers, but we control our investment in our journeys and in our connection with the divine. And so it's amazing to be on this like episode with you and be talking about spirituality because it's just always been a really big focus of my life, and it's been incredible to see how my beliefs and the way that I show up has shifted, but my core self has stayed the same, and my connection with the divine has stayed the same. And I honor that in people. I honor that in everyone, and I know that sometimes that it can look different in ways that divide us, like we talked about before. And we're all about finding the connection. So I'm here for that. So if anyone's looking for that, let's be together.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Sydney. That's beautiful.
Thank you, Jess. So if anyone's able to show up in Utah, please do. And if you're looking for a place to stay during the event, we do, surprise, surprise, also have a retreat portion of this. So we have a space for
Woohoo!
30 women. Yeah, so I will add that. We have space for 30 women. You can see more details through the Google Doc that Jess is kindly going to link. But 30 women can also attend that. It's going to be 3 nights. So the 16th to the 19th of October, and it's super amazingly priced. We just want people to connect. So just like if this calls to you at all or you vibe with this whole idea, you want to be involved or you want to connect, then check it out.
Awesome. That sounds amazing. I'm so excited. I hope it goes amazingly. It's going to go amazingly.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to it. I look forward to what comes. I mean, next year we're hoping to do something a little more like what you did in your event, where we bring in other creators, and we are going to have multiple creators here, but we want to explore the divine feminine from different lenses too, like you kind of did, and include that next year. So lots of
Awesome.
opportunity, and thank you for sharing about your event. Again, I'm sad I couldn't make it, but I hope we can co-create something in the future. You know, we don't live in the same state, but
Yes.
yes.
Hey, that would be super fun. Let's do it.
Yeah. Thanks, Jess.
Thank you.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoy this podcast, we invite you to come on over to patreon.com/inherimagepodcast for more content and community. You will have access to a Marco Polo or Facebook group chat with our hosts and the insider scoop on events, meetups, and retreats. We're so excited to meet you. And of course, tune in next Sunday for another inspiring episode.